Hello everyone, welcome back to our weekly market analysis video with me, Frankie, your market analyst at Markets4U. In today's video, we'll be looking at the key economic events and data releases from April 28 to May 2, 2025. I've already set up my screen to display the economic calendar from the traders room at Markets4U. I've set the dates from April 28 to May 2, covering this week's important events in GMT. Please remember to adjust to your respective time zones. Let's dive into this week's events. Monday starts with US Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index, which typically has a modest impact on the dollar. Tuesday brings US JOLTS job openings and CB consumer confidence, followed by Japanese retail sales and industrial production data overnight. Wednesday is packed with high-impact releases, including Australian inflation figures, Eurozone GDP data, US ADP employment change, US GDP growth rate, Canadian GDP, and US Core PCE price index, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. Thursday features the Bank of Japan interest rate decision, Japanese consumer confidence, Swiss retail sales, US initial jobless claims, and ISM manufacturing PMI, concluding with Japanese unemployment rate. Friday concludes with Australian retail sales and PPI data, Eurozone unemployment rate and inflation figures, and the all-important US Nonfarm Payrolls report, including unemployment rate and average hourly earnings. This week's key market-moving events will be the Bank of Japan interest rate decision on Thursday, which historically generates volatility, and the US Nonfarm Payrolls on Friday. These releases should create significant opportunities across major pairs. Now, let's go to the technical analysis. This week, we'll focus on the Australian dollar against the US dollar and the US dollar against the Japanese yen, as both instruments face significant data releases in the coming days. Let's start with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Looking at the daily chart, the Australian dollar faces crucial inflation data on Wednesday, which historically generates volatility following the release. With inflation expected to ease slightly to 2.2% from 2.4%, this release will be closely watched for signals about the Reserve Bank of Australia's future policy direction. Looking at important levels, the Australian dollar has support at 0.6342 and 0.6245, while resistance can be found at 0.6450 and 0.6544. The pair will also be impacted by Friday's Australian retail sales and PPI data. Traders should pay particular attention to how the pair reacts to Wednesday's inflation figures, as any surprise could drive significant movement in the Australian dollar ahead of next week's RBA meeting. Now, let's turn to the US dollar against the Japanese yen. On the daily chart, the dollar-yen pair has been in a strong downtrend, currently trading around 143.73. The pair faces a crucial Bank of Japan interest rate decision on Thursday, which may become the most volatile event for any currency pair this week. Looking at important levels, the dollar against the yen has support at 142.47 and 140.79, while resistance stands at 145.18 and 146.87. The price is currently trading well below the 20-day moving average, the red line, which is acting as dynamic resistance. The stochastic oscillator is showing signs of potential bullish momentum from oversold territory. The BOJ is expected to maintain its interest rate at 0.5%, but any hints about future policy direction could trigger significant movement. Japanese consumer confidence later on Thursday could add more volatility. Additionally, Japanese retail sales and industrial production on Tuesday night can make an exceptional active week for this pair. Both instruments could see considerable volatility this week. Traders should be particularly cautious during Wednesday's Australian inflation data and Thursday's BOJ decision, as these events can cause sudden spikes in volatility and potential gap risks. Remember, always manage your risk carefully and never invest more than you can afford to lose. That's it for this week's analysis. See you in the next video.